God is light. In him there is no darkness at all. God is, and in him there is no darkness at all. We love light and darkness. We actually love contrast. It's what makes a good movie or a good novel, show or whatever. Today's contrast is light and darkness. Finish this statement for me. We love the dark when we don't want to get caught. It's a bunch of sinners out here. That sounds good to me. All right. Yep. You know the way it is. We sneak out of our house when? During the day or at night? All the time. Yeah, okay. Yeah, if you're going to do that, you usually do it at night. Car theft, rape, murder, all primarily happens at night. Porn sites, most trafficked during the hours of 10 p.m. and 2 a.m. because it's dark. We conceal our sinful desires of our flesh. We need the cloak of darkness in our spiritual and social communities as well at church. We choose not to expose our personal darkness all the time because we don't want other people to know about it. And so we've got to keep things dark. But when we bring those things to the light of God, darkness flees. I mean, it's dark out there. I can't see any of you. I know you're lovely people. Now, we hide our flaws in secrecy and darkness, but on the contrast, First John says that as God's children, we are characterized by light. Let me ask you a question. Are you characterized by light? Are you children of the light? Yay or nay? Okay, I do not ask rhetorical questions. I ask for real responses. And so from the darkness, are you children of the light? How do you know? I mean, how do you know that? Here's what we're gonna do. I'm kind of your guide. I'm gonna help set up your small group time, what's gonna go on during the evening sessions. I'm just gonna try not screw any of that stuff up, but we're gonna walk through some chapters or some verses in 1 John, and 1 John lays out 3 tests to prove if you really are a child of the light. And so if you wanna know if you're a child of the light, you're claiming that in your life right now, which is a good thing. He runs through 3 proof tests just to see if you really are. The belief test, the obedience test, and the love test. Y'all might want to write that down even though it's dark. The tests are the belief test, the obedience test, and the love test. We're going to talk about the love test today because 1 John is this cyclical book. It keeps repeating a lot of the same things over and over again until his dear children start to get it. And the word love is used 46 times in the 5 short little chapters of 1 John. And so if you walk in the light of God, that will be proven by your love. My friend Michael DeFazio, do any of you know my man? We work together over at Ozark. I love him so much. He said this, he goes, how you act towards the people in front of you is the best measure of what's going on inside of you. And so if you're acting in spite or hate towards the people in front of you, then that's what's going on inside of you. That's what's churning in you. If you're acting in love to the people that God puts in front of you, and then that's what you're full of. You're children of the light because you're full of love. Take out your Bibles or your phone apps. And that is not a suggestion. Every single day, every morning, Bibles open in here. Go somewhere, get yourself, I know y'all love your phones. You need a Bible that when you hit somebody, they get a mild concussion. That's what you need. Yes, we are going to open that sucker every single day because here's my theory. If you're not opening your Bibles up at Move or you're not opening them up at church, you're not opening them at home, and you're not letting the Word of God speak to you. Open it daily. It's your bread and your life. 1 John chapter 2, we're gonna start at verse 7. 1 John 2:7. And here's what we're looking for each day. We're gonna look for repeated words. And so in our text, chapter 2, 7 through 11, I want you just to pay attention to the repeated words, because when something's repeated, it's important. When something's repeated, it's important. You know this from your mama, because you know when she has to tell you at least 3 times to clean your room, each time her voice gets a little bit more intense. Billy, I told you to clean your room. clean your room. And then she's coming up to your room to find you, and she has a machete, and she's serious because when it's repeated, it's important. And that's the same thing with God's word. So let's look for some of that in here. 1 John 2, it's all the way towards the back of your Bible. Verse 7, it says, "Dear friends, I am not writing you a new command, but an old one, which you've had since the beginning. This old command is the message you have heard, yet I am writing you a new command. Its truth is seen in him and in you, because darkness is passing and the true light is already shining. Anyone who claims to be in the light but hates a brother or a sister is still in darkness. Anyone who loves their brother and sister lives in the light, and there is nothing in them to make them stumble. But anyone who hates a brother or sister is in darkness and walks around in the darkness. They do not know where they're going because the darkness has blinded them." So help me out. What are some of the repeated phrases in here? Darkness, yeah, that's a big one. What else? What? Yep, okay, thanks. Brother and sister, yeah, that's right. Your community that you've got around you. You've got light, darkness, brother, sister, hatred, love, repeated phrases in here. These are the important things of the text. These verses are great because light and loving others are directly connected to each other, and hatred and darkness are directly connected to each other. So when I ask you if you're a child of the light and you say yes, one of those things is basically you can look at how do I do at loving the people that are around me. And when you ask that question, you think, okay, I've got this, right? You're a lovely person. I can't even see you, but I'm sure you're a lovely person. How many of you would consider yourself a loving person? Like you love people around you. Just look at the faces in the darkness there next to you. You love those people, don't you? Absolutely. Yeah. You're a nice person, so you must be a child of the light. We'll put it this way. We'll get down to real love here in just a second, but we say some weird things as Christians sometimes, don't we? We have weird phrases that, even when we're calling each other brother and sister, and we're all about love and everything, but we say some even weirder things than that kind of redefines truth, redefines reality. Stuff like when I first became a Christian, I heard somebody say, "You shouldn't lie in church." And I'm like, what? So I can go home and lie? I can go to school and lie? That just didn't make any sense. So here I can't lie, but out there I can lie. Or here's one, I bet you one of you in here, or at least several of you have said this. "I don't hate him, I just strongly dislike him." Yeah, you've said that, haven't you? You're strongly disliking him as you're clawing his eyeballs out. Or stabbing him with an ink pen or something. It's also weird. We say strange things when it comes to the word love, that if an alien were just to pop down here and he would hear the way that we're using the term love, he might be a little bit confused in the way that we show that love. For example, I love God, I love my sweet foxy wife Lisa, I love my 2 boys, I love my dog Chewbacca, and I love pizza. But I love all of those things in very different ways. I don't worship pizza. I don't put pepperoni on my boys, and I don't make out with Chewbacca, even though he tries sometimes. You see what I'm saying? I would say those things in very different ways, even though using that one word of love. Darkness redefines love based on how we feel. Darkness will redefine love based on how we feel in the moment, and how we truly feel about the people that are standing in front of us. I feel like I'm a loving person, but when your actions and motives are exposed to the light of God, we might find out that we don't love nearly as well as we think we do, and we actually might be more in the dark than we thought. Let's throw some light on that. We'll see what we mean by that. See, I think that we choose love selectively and conditionally based on what we can get out of other people and how they make us feel in the moment. And you think, no, I don't. I mean, we can all think of the big hypothetical situation where you might be called to lay down your life for somebody in youth group or something like that. And that's great to think about, but those things aren't really happening all the time. I mean, we hear those hero stories, whether it's in the military or school shootings and things like that. But the reality is most of us in here probably won't have to face that. I can't say that for sure. But bottom line is that love, it's not just in the big things like would you lay down your life for the other people that are around you, but it's in the small little daily decisions of whether we're going to walk in the light or darkness by the way that we love or by the way that we hate. And so love means choosing a seat based on who looks like they might need a friend that day rather than who you wish that you were friends as you were climbing the popularity ladder. That's walking in the light because that's walking in love. Love is praying right then and right there when somebody is hurting instead of saying, I'll pray for you, and then you walk away and you never utter anything to the Lord on that person's behalf. That is walking in the light. That's walking in love. Love is hanging up the need to always be right and always getting the last word in with people. Love is not burying your face in your phone when you're bored with the conversation or you're trying to avoid somebody that's not nearly as cool as you or as cool as you wish that you were. Love is not pouncing on the weak in sarcasm at their expense. They laugh on the outside, but they hurt by your cutting words. I struggle with that one too much, and it needs to stop. Love is giving the highest respect for your siblings, even when they're annoying the heck out of you. Why is it that we treat complete strangers better than we treat our own brother and sister? Love is having that conversation with your dad in the car rather than selfishly just putting on your headphones and ignoring him as everybody else does. Love is verbally acknowledging that your mom works hard, and so help her out without being asked, without her begging you, without her, guilting you into that kind of stuff. Love is forgiving your parents because they've screwed up your family, if that's the way that it is. Love is love is refusing to play the victim card every time something doesn't go your way, and it's poor me, look at me. Seniors, love means that it's time to grow up and quit acting like you're the queen or you're the king and all the underclassmen here are your subjects and they just need to bow down to your will as you go first, as you get the best, and you think that you are the best. Who cares? Serve them. Wash their feet as your king washed feet. I don't think we love nearly as well as we think we do. Love that is conditional, love that is self-seeking, love that is inconsiderate of others. It does not pass the 1 John love test whatsoever, and we're really walking in darkness. Guys, love is when you give value to all women, not just the ones that you're attracted to. That's true love. That's walking in the light. Hateful darkness is treating any girl who does not fit your type or give you what you want in that moment as invisible. And they recognize that, they know that, they see it when you're only giving attention to the one that you're attracted to. And they're nothing to you, and you go, no, that's not true, and you think that I'm being extreme. Just ask the girl who's known you for years and you've never had a meaningful, deep conversation with her. Ask the girl who needs a true friend, but you keep hitting on her because you hope that you have a chance. They wrestle with things like body image and self-worth and depression because we don't love unconditionally. Women, it's not just their fault though. Love is when you stop letting image and fitting in and desperation for companionship cause you to do unholy things with your body, with your words, and with your mind. Hate views other women as competition. When you love, there is no room for sabotaging, backbiting, eye-rolling, or flirting just to get what you want. If your friends are gossiping to you, they're going to be gossiping about you as well. Love shuts all of that down. Love defines you as a daughter of the Father, and the people around you are truly brothers and sisters. Do you love them or do you hate them? Do you really walk in the light as a child of the light, or are you a child of the darkness because you want to be the best, the prettiest, and the most fashionable? Love does not require selfies with poor kids on your mission trip. Love requires humble, quiet service. It's hard to bring dignity into somebody's life when you've got your phone always pointed at yourself. Love does not wait for a pat on the back because you were nice to some kid lower on the social popularity ladder. You are missing the entire point. Love erases the social ladder and sees people as Christ sees them, that everyone brings something to the fellowship table. They just do. And if you think that you're showing them pity because you were nice to them, no, look at that person, because they're going to bring light into your life as well. They're human beings that deserve dignity, respect, and friendship. Maybe we just don't love as well as we think that we do. Or are you too blind to see it? Or are you too self-absorbed to want it? Children of the light, we can change that this week. This week. Our theme of contrast, it's gonna draw out a whole lot of junk. How many Move veterans do we have in here? You've been here before, not here, but to Move before. Where are you guys at? Tons of you guys here. You know that they just go all out with their creativity, and that they're gonna go hard on you at some point, and that it's just gonna wreck you on the inside. And we know that they're gonna draw out a lot of junk this week. And I'm not gonna apologize for just going hard here on day one or day two, whatever day you think that it is, this early in the week, because First John, just with his repeating of love, love, love over and over again, it reminds us that God just takes the way that we love seriously, and it is an identifying mark of whether we are a child of the light or a child of the darkness. And quite frankly, I don't love as nearly as well as I think that I do. And it's time for that to get turned around. It's time to turn what we know that God is going to do internally in us, externally towards others. And we show them love and grace and mercy in the cross of Jesus Christ. What does your crew need from you this week? You've been probably asking, what can I get out of this week? Stop using the word I and start looking at people in the eyes and seeing what they need. What's your crew need from you this week versus what are they going to get? It's as simple as that. I think about this student in my youth group. I was a youth pastor for like 10 years, mostly up in the Portland, Oregon area. I loved it, loved working with high school students. It's awesome. And there's this kid, Ian, a little bit awkward. Some of his awkwardness came by it naturally. Any of y'all the awkward kid out there, it's cool. Y'all can embrace it. Like it's just a thing now. At that time though, like he wore dark rimmed glasses before they were ever cool, and he always wore these, he was a bigger husky kid and always wore these super tight, like 80s hairband t-shirts. And so Rat, Aerosmith, Poison, Guns N' Roses, and he just loved music. And one of the reasons why he loved music is because Ian had just a slight, mild touch of autism. And if you know anybody, if you have friends or family members that have autism, you know for most of them, music is just something that's very, very, they just have a special connection with music, and that was Ian, and he really did. And somebody, his friend Jason kept inviting him to youth group, and he really didn't show up. And then one day this girl Jenna invited him to youth group, and he showed up, and I met him, and he got along with everybody there, and everybody accepted him. But bottom line is because of his social awkwardness, because he didn't look the part all the time, and he was just kind of awkward, he was basically ignored. People would say, oh, hi, Ian, but there was no in-depth conversation with Ian. His family didn't go to church. His dad wasn't even around. He never even met his dad. And so there he is, but he loved it. Like it was a good social place for him. It was a safe place for him. He got picked on quite a bit at school, but he was just mostly an observer. He didn't speak up in Sunday school class, really. I mean, if I called on him, he would. He didn't participate. He was just kind of always on the fringe, on the outside. And he'd go on mission trips and to Move with us and stuff for a couple of years. And then senior year, last day, it was the very last day, and we've circled up for our youth group time at the very end, and everybody's sharing things that they've learned and that they're confessing, and it's crying, and I mean, it's just a whole big emotional moment. And then I close us out in prayer, and then Ian said to me, he's like, Bob, he's sitting next to me, he's like, I've got something to say to everybody. I go, oh, okay, that's good. And he was super nervous about it. He hated it. And he's just like, he's looking at me. He's like, I just want to tell everybody that I love them. Oh, that's cool, Ian. I was like, we love you too. Like, we really do. And there's a few heads nodding, like, yeah. And then everybody was just kind of thinking about getting back to their rooms and stuff. And hanging out in the dorms and talking or playing or whatever. And then Ian and I didn't always communicate well. Like there was times where he's trying to express something, but I couldn't quite understand what he was getting at. I couldn't get it in his head all the time. And he was frustrated. He goes, no, I want to tell everybody that I love them. I go, and I'm looking at everybody else around the circle. I'm like, that's great, Ian. We all love you too. And I'm like motioning them like, yeah, Ian, man, we love you. You're awesome. You know, and more people are speaking up. And he just shakes his head and he gets up and he goes, everybody stand up. And so we all stood up and he walks around and he started on this side and he grabbed his friend Jason right there in the shoulders and he pulled him really close and he talked really gruff all the time. He's like, Jason, I love you because, you know, you used to invite me to church all the time and I didn't go, but thank you for always just thinking about me, and you're like my only real friend that I have at school. And I love you because you baptized me. And then he goes to the next student and he grabbed him by the shoulders and he's like, Drew, I love you because I watch you, you know, at school sometimes and you're always helping this one kid out, you know, and he described this one scenario that I didn't know what he was talking about, but Drew knew what he was talking about because Ian had been watching him and he expressed that he loved him because of the way that he did that. He goes to this other boy, he's like, I love you because that one day I didn't study for my math test and you let me copy off of you. And I'm like, oh, Ian, you're kind of missing the point here, but you know, it's like, okay, you know, so you really helped me out with that. And that kid's looking at me like, oh, dang, I'm going to get in trouble, you know, youth pastor or whatever. But I love you for that. And he goes up to Katie and he's like, Katie, I love you because you are always so nice to me at school and you say hello to me and you give me a hug. And then you invited me, you know, over here. And I didn't say that I wanted to go with you to youth group, but I really did on the inside. I was just really nervous. And Jenna, I love you because you finally convinced me. And he goes around to each and every single adult and student and he knew something specific about that person that he loved in them. And it sparked a revival in our youth group that I cannot even explain. I mean, what was facade and fake and I'm gonna change forever, that actually worked with some of our students, and it had nothing to do with what was set up here, and it had everything to do with one awkward kid that decided that he was going to show some extravagant love in ways that he had never done before, and he was so nervous and he couldn't hardly get some of his words out, but every single person knew exactly why Ian loved him, and if Ian can do it, you can do it. Somebody has to go first. Someone in your youth group needs to go first and admit, maybe I haven't been loving this group as well as I thought that I did. And maybe I've actually been walking in darkness self-centeredly, making sure that I got as much out of this youth group instead of pouring in to my brothers and sisters here. Somebody has to go first and say, I'm ready for a change, and it can start this week. It can start today. Are you going to step up and be the Ian in your youth group?